Well, hey everybody, welcome to another tutorial on slide riffs in the tuning of Open E. In this lesson, we're going to go a little bit more in depth with some behind the slide fretting. So stay tuned. We touched on this early on in this series. I think maybe video too, I can't remember, but it's there in the playlist on the channel. Anyways, buckle in here. We'll have a good time. And of course, if you're wondering how to tune your guitar to Open E, go back to the first lesson. It's right there. For this lesson, we'll get straight to the action. Stay tuned. All right, so very quickly before we get into today's lick, what we're going to study here is a little more in depth on behind the slide fretting. For instance, see here that I just add my index finger a couple of frets below. And this is the how we'll work today. We'll keep it reasonably simple. However, it'll get you into the habit and the process of using this technique as we go deeper. So for riff number one, I'll play you the entire riff first. Okay, so that's the entire first part of the riff, and this is a technique that's utilized quite a bit by Sonny Landreth, one of my favorite slide guitar players. And if you don't know who Sonny Landreth is, I'm sure you guys do if you're on the slide guitar tutorial, but look him up. Killer slide guitar player. So let's break this lick down. The riff starts on the 12th fret, basically the octave of low E. For this particular riff, we're not going to worry about muting behind the slide. We'll work on that later because there's a little bit here to digest before we get back to that. So the first part of the lick is, so we just sort of slide in on the 12th fret utilizing the 6th string and the 4th string. Okay, so, and then we just gently lift the slide as we did in the technique, I think around tutorial number 2. We just lift the lower part of the slide and then fret with our index finger at the 10th fret on the 4th string. So it should sound like this. It sounds like a 7th, only you've got the slide on. Now I also find before we go deeper that the ball tip slides are generally much easier to use on this technique. Doesn't mean you can't use other slides, but the ball tip slides are kind of easy if you have one. That's kind of up to you. So that's the lick. And then one more. Okay, now the second part will go, so first of all, let's listen to how the chord sounds. Somewhat dissonant, but it sounds pretty cool. Okay, so that part of the lick is sort of the same as the first lick, but now we're gonna go to the 4th string, the 4th string, and then we're gonna pluck with our middle finger the 2nd string. So, okay, and then once again lifting the lower part of the slide and fretting on the 2nd string of the 10th fret. Okay, sounds a bit out of tune there, so we can work on that. Okay, and then it ends with a, so we're just going to gently pluck the G string or the 3rd string of the 12th fret and then end it with the thumb right back on the 4th string. So the chord should sound like this. Okay, so one more time. Now also for this lesson, and you don't always have to do this, but I like to leave my first finger anchored on that 10th fret. It helps me with vibrato, it helps keep me with better intonation. So notice I'm leaving my index finger right there at the 10th, and we will do that for all three riffs on this lesson. So let's recap riff number 1. Kind of messed it up there. One more time. So it's good to be gentle with it. The hardest part that I find with this particular lick is actually getting the lower part of the slide off the string enough. It's a subtle thing. Okay? Now, just to make it easy for you, that was the hardest riff of the group. Stay tuned. We'll get right to riff number 2. Now, the second part of this lesson, we'll call this riff number 2, takes us down to the 10th fret. And now we're only going to utilize the 4th string, the 3rd string, and the 2nd string. Now, I'll play you the riff. One more. Not unlike that first riff that we did, but now we're only staying within a block of 3 strings at the 10th and 8th fret. So let's take it apart. We're going to slide in with the thumb and the 2nd finger simultaneously on the 4th string and the 2nd string. Okay, so just a gentle slide in from the 9th fret to the 10th fret. Then we pluck the 4th string with our thumb to finish it, and then lift the bottom part of the slide. Use the index finger on the 2nd string at the 8th fret. Sorry. That's what that should sound like. Okay, let's play it one more time, just so you know what the sound is supposed to be like. A little dissonant again, but kind of cool. So, let's take it apart. And then end it with the 2nd finger and the thumb on the 3rd string and the 4th string at the 8th fret. Okay, so. So let's do it slowly. I may have forgotten here quickly, but it's going to be, sorry. So for the first part of the lick, down to the 10th and then put the slide, down to the 8th, and then put the slide back on the 10th fret. So you just lower it, or excuse me, you just raise it and then lower it back. Okay? And then leave it raised to end the lick. So one more time. Sorry, we're going to clean that up. I'm just feeling kind of lazy here in the studio today, just sort of doing it here half-assed. But anyways, here we go. Okay, that's riff number 2. Now stay tuned for the 3rd and final riff, and then we'll get right down to the jam track. All right, so now we're down to the 3rd and final riff of where we're going. This riff takes us down to the 7th fret. Okay, now I'll play you the riff. The same technique all the way through. This one's a little different, but the technique of behind the slide 2 frets down remains the same. So here's the lick. Sorry. All right, so let's take that apart. This riff's a little more elaborate than riff number 2 and not quite as elaborate as the first riff. So we'll start with our thumb sliding in on the 6th string, 7th fret. And then we pluck with our second finger the 3rd string. Okay, so, and then the same technique applies. We raise the slide gently and then finger on the 3rd string, 5th fret, like the 7th again. Okay. Now once again, I like to lead, with this one, I have to raise my finger off because we're going to end it with the slide lower gently back down onto the 3rd string to end it here. Same as how we started. Okay, one more time. Okay, and then we end it with, which is kind of the same thing that we did at the 10th fret. A little dissonant there. So we take the thumb on the 4th string, 7th fret, and then pluck the 2nd string at the 7th fret with our 2nd finger, and then pluck with our thumb on the 4th string, 7th fret again. Gently raise the slide and fret with the index finger at the 5th fret, 2nd string, and then simply end it the way we ended the other riffs with a. So you'd use your 1st finger or 2nd finger, whatever your comfort level is, on the G string, the 3rd string, 7th fret, and then end on the 4th string, 7th fret. Okay, so now you want to watch for a little bit of intonation here. You want to make sure that the slide is centered over the top of the 7th fret and not below. You'll have to use your ears, and also just try to remain conscious of that. That's what it should sound like. Okay, so. And leave your index finger on that 5th fret just to help with the intonation and the vibrato. When you get really good at it, or maybe you're good at it right now, you can lift your finger off. I tend to use that technique just for the sustain and the vibrato. Okay, so let's go over the whole riff. Okay, so before we move on to the jam track, let's go over all 3 riffs once. That's riff number 1. Riff number 2 will be. Okay. Okay, that's all 3 riffs. Stay tuned for the jam track, and of course I will include the audio for this jam track so that you can play what we learned here on your own. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson on fretting behind the slide. And as we move forward here, we will get into greater detail on this. But in the meantime, and what with the current restrictions in Canada, it appears as I'll be off the road for the winter time, so I look forward to continuing with these tutorials as we go. And if you enjoy these and are learning from them, please consider supporting me at patreon.com/Dan Walsh. I would be grateful. But in the meantime, take care, and I'll see you guys soon.